My husband cheated with a server at our restaurant, so I throw a party and play the video. I had the perfect life. I was married to my college sweetheart, Mark, and we owned the popular restaurant together. Life was good, until I discovered that Mark had been cheating on me with one of our servers, Lacey. Leading up to this revelation, I couldn't help but notice that Mark had been acting strangely. He was distant, frequently staying late at the restaurant and making excuses to avoid spending time with me. His once warm and affectionate demeanor had turned cold, and he seemed constantly on edge. I brushed off these changes as stress from work, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Our conversations felt forced, and he was often glued to his phone, quickly hiding it whenever I entered the room. It was a gut feeling, an instinct that led me to search his office that fateful day. I went into Mark's office to grab some paperwork, and that's when I started rummaging around and stumbled upon a box of condoms in the back of his bottom desk drawer, behind some hanging file folders. Now, we hadn't been using condoms for years, so I immediately knew something was up. He actually came in right after I found them, but I had already closed the drawer and was away from his desk. I kept my cool and he never suspected that I had found them. So the next day, I went in early and entered his office. I opened up his laptop, trying to find any evidence of his infidelity. And, lo and behold, there were some steamy messages from Lacey, our 23-year-old server, sent to his email. I felt a wave of emotions, betrayal, anger, sadness. But I'm not the kind of person to let emotions get the better of me. I quickly formulated a plan to get my revenge, oust him from our business, and destroy both of their reputations. First things first, I installed a hidden camera in Mark's office a few days later. I knew it wouldn't be long before Lacey and Mark would get a little too cozy again, and I wanted to catch them in the act. Then, I created a fake social media profile and messaged Mark, pretending to be a customer. I booked the restaurant for a private party, which he eagerly agreed to host. The party was to be 2 weeks later, and judging things by the few condoms that were left in the box, I knew that was enough time to get the footage I needed. And get it I did. It was heartbreaking. I remember when he had that kind of passion for me and it was great. Now, seeing him behave that way with a younger woman, I felt like I was trash or something. It is hard enough to run a business and be so busy making a good life for us, all the while aging. That to lose your husband to a fling with someone barely older than our children, that really hurts. However, I just kept turning my sadness into anger and continued on with my plan. The day of the party finally arrived, and Mark was busy preparing in the kitchen while Lacey was preparing as usual with our other servers. They had no idea that the guests would actually be our friends and family. I had invited them all to witness my ultimate act of revenge. As our loved ones started arriving, the waitstaff started taking food and drink orders. Mark was in the back preparing the meals that were coming in. Lacey wasn't completely familiar with our family and friends, so she didn't really smell what was really cooking. Pun intended. The waitstaff, including Lacey, began to serve the food. Having finished up the last few meals, Mark joined them by helping take out the last few trays. I knew he would. He always loved getting out of the back and seeing the satisfied looks on our customers' faces. But that is when he realized that these were not just any customers, but people we actually knew. The look on his face was priceless. He was so confused and just began asking them what was going on, all the while I was just smiling and showing that I wasn't shocked at all. He looked at me with a questioning face as if to be asking me what was going on. That is when I decided it was time to drop the bombshell. I told everyone to direct their attention to the flat screens. I hit play on the remote, and the hidden camera footage of their steamy office affair began to play, at full volume too, might I add. The room went silent as everyone's jaws hit the floor. The shock and awe were palpable. Some of our friends got up and left immediately, but most stayed. Mark, realizing what was happening, rushed to his office, trying to escape the humiliation. I followed him, taunting him, telling him that he did not want to miss the grand finale. As he paced around the room, trying to figure out how to salvage his reputation, I told him he was fired. I then went back out to the dining room. I told the other waitstaff to find Lacey. She was in the back, getting her things and was about to leave. So I ran back and caught her just as she was bolting out the door. "You're fired too, you little tramp." I yelled and she ran away in tears. I returned once again to the dining room. By this time, everyone had turned the TVs off. They had seen enough. His side of the family was a little upset with me, but even more upset with him. Of course, my family was livid and supported me completely. This is when I introduced Bob, the process server, whom I then directed to my husband's office where he served him the papers. I wanted to make it abundantly clear that our marriage and business relationship were over. Mark's family were the first to leave, but my family stayed and we talked for a few hours. After I came down from the adrenaline rush, I sobbed and sobbed as my family took turns hugging me, comforting me, and some even commended me for standing up for myself. The days following the party were a whirlwind of emotions and legalities. Word spread like wildfire about the scandal, and our restaurant became the talk of the town. Our friends and family were supportive, but many couldn't hide their shock at the lengths I had gone to in order to exact my revenge. Some even praised my audacity. In the end, I emerged victorious. I kept the restaurant, and Mark was left with nothing. I had successfully exposed his infidelity and ruined his reputation. As for Lacey, well, let's just say she'll have a hard time finding a job in this town again. Mark tried to fight the divorce, but he didn't have a leg to stand on. After all, I had video evidence of his infidelity, and he was now unemployed. It wasn't long before the divorce was finalized, and I became the sole owner of our once jointly owned restaurant. As for the restaurant, it took some time to recover from the scandal, but eventually, people began to view it as a symbol of strength and resilience, and business picked up once more. I hired some new staff and even renamed the place to reflect my new chapter in life. I had a lot of time to reflect on what had happened. Part of me felt guilty for the public humiliation I had subjected Mark and Lacey to, but another part of me couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. After all, they had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible, and I had reclaimed my power and dignity. To this day, I am proud of the way I handled the situation. My life is different now. I'm a successful business owner, navigating the world as a newly single woman. But I've learned a valuable lesson about trust, betrayal, and the importance of standing up for myself. I don't know if they ever truly understood the consequences of their actions, but I hope they learned something about the importance of loyalty and the cost of betrayal. It's a lesson I will carry with me for the rest of my life. So, there you have it, my epic tale of revenge. A part of me still feels like it was something out of a movie or a dramatic TV show, but it was all too real. I know it might not have been the most mature or level-headed course of action, but in the end, I took control of my life and my business. And that, my friends, is a victory worth celebrating. Did Mark get what he deserved, or was Elizabeth too harsh? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.